With his buffalo plaid shirt, Paul Bunyan has become part of the fabric of Minnesota. An iconic statue of the legendary lumberjack up north is about to turn 90 years old.
Maury Glover takes a look at the history of this complicated character in tonight's Maury Stories.
I think this is it's fun. Folklore is wonderful. It helps make up our country. We're full of stories.
On the shores of Lake Bemidji in northern Minnesota, there's a testament to a legend that is larger than life.
I've seen how they're tall, bigger Paul Bunyans, but I've never seen one so colorful.
Standing 18 feet tall and weighing 2.5 tons, this statue of Paul Bunyan has been a symbol of Bemidji for nearly 9 decades.
He's great. Yeah, bigger than I thought.
The giant lumberjack has come to define the community, with his name or likeness on everything from a park and a professional playhouse to a sub shop and a souvenir shack.
They just like tall tales. He's a heroic figure.
Visit Bemidji says the supersized statues of Paul Bunyan and his sidekick, Babe the Blue Ox, draw 250,000 people every year.
Paul's kind of fishing rod over here hanging up on the wall next to a pocket watch. And then we also have Paul's stocking hat that actually used to be placed on Paul during the holiday season back in the 1990s. About half stop in the Tourist Information Center, which is filled with Paul Bunyan memorabilia. Paul Bunyan is a very big deal here in Bemidji, and it's, we've embraced it. It is really, it's in the fabric of our culture here in Bemidji, and it's really become a major part of Bemidji's identity over the years. Josh Peterson, I'm the Executive Director of Visit Bemidji. Peterson says the statues were built by civic leaders as part of a winter carnival back in 1937 to help attract tourists. Babe was mounted on a truck and paraded around town, and later St. Paul, with exhaust piped through his nose to make it look like he was breathing cold air. There's other Paul Bunyan statues around the United States, but Bemidji gets to claim the first statue in the United States to recognize Paul. Paul and Babe were featured in the pages of Life magazine twice, where they were named the second most photographed sculptures in the country, behind only Mount Rushmore. Their popularity inspired other communities across the Midwest to build their own giant statues. And Paul and Babe were placed on the National Register of Historic Places in the late 80s. I think it's just a symbol of Bemidji's strength as a community. So who is this fictional folk hero who's been the subject of so many stories of epic proportions? Tall tales about the mythical lumberman started circulating in logging camps around North America in the mid-1800s. And even though Paul Bunyan is closely associated with Minnesota, the first record of stories being told about him actually came from Wisconsin.
Many of the stories revolved around his prowess as a logger, his great ability, his strength.
In the 1920s, the Red River Lumber Company published a pamphlet featuring the exploits of Paul Bunyan to publicize its move from Minnesota to California. Some of those stories were later picked up by newspapers around the country. And as his legend grew, so did his size.
He began as, a larger man, 6 feet 4, whatever. Staturally, he was tall and big, but not the 18-foot tall giant we see at Lake Bemidji today, right?
By the time Disney made this animated short in the 1950s, Bunyan was credited with clearing the path for settlement across the country.
Well, sir, they left lots of tracks behind them. And come spring, those tracks filled with water. And this area became known as the land of 10,000 lakes.
But some experts say those imaginary tales leave out the real damage done by deforestation and the displacement of indigenous people by Minnesota's logging history.
So again, Paul Bunyan then becomes this really romanticized image of like the white male labor that built the country. But it's just that. It's a myth. It's a story, right, that ignores the brutal reality, the violent history of settler colonialism on our continent.
Native Americans have their own myth about Paul Bunyan battling an Ojibwe trickster who defeats him and sends him out west, preserving some of the trees in the state.
You know, it's fun to talk about Paul Bunyan because in many ways he unites all of us. I would say it's something we can be proud of, but to also do the deeper digging, finding that balance. You know, what do these stories represent, and what is the history that's being overlooked by telling only one celebratory story of the golden days of logging.
Paul Bunyan still looms large over Bemidji, both physically and culturally. And as he gets ready to celebrate his 90th birthday in the North Woods in January, this popular attraction isn't ready to get the axe anytime soon.
Whether you love him or hate him, you can't deny the impact that it's had on the economy and the identity and what it's built for this community over almost 90 years.
For Maury Stories, Maury Glover, Fox 9.
And chances are, if you go up there to see it, people are going to be there with you taking pictures.
You can't walk too far without seeing some Paul Bunyan-related image.
Yeah, that was a very interesting story.
Some stuff there I did not know.
Yeah. All right.